The Iranian Reformists are a political faction in Iran. Iran's reform era is sometimes said to have lasted from 1997 to 2005. The length of Khatami's 2 terms in office. The Council for Coordinating the Reforms Front is the main umbrella organization and coalition within the movement. However, there are reformist groups not aligned with the council, such as the Reformists Front. The Second of Khordad movement usually refers not only to the coalition of 18 groups and political parties of the Reforms Front but to anyone else who was a supporter of the 1997 reform programs of Khatami. The ideology of Khatami and the movement is based on Islamic democracy. The Reforms Front consists of several political parties. Some of the most famous, including the following: many Iranian intellectuals were involved in establishing a foundation for the movement. Perhaps the most influential figure was Abdul Kareem Sirosh. For many years, he was the only voice publicly criticizing the regime's policies. His regular lectures at Tehran University used to enjoy the attendance of many of the Iranian students who later generated the Second of Khordad movement. Many famous figures of the movement belong to the Sirosh circle. However, at the rise of Second of Khordad movement, Syed Asgar acted as the main theorist behind the movement and the main strategist in Khatami's camp. The movement has been described as changing the key terms in public discourse: imperialism, mujahid, enclave, moderniyat, Jamar-e-Madani, Sharwadi, etc. The core of the reform movement is said to be made up of Islamic leftists disqualified for running for office as they were purged and generally disempowered by Islamic conservatives. Following the death of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini in 1989, Islamic leftists turned reformists include Abdul Kareem Sirosh, Syed Asgar, Akbar Ganji, Ali Akbar Mota Shamipur, Ibrahim Asghar Zadeh, Mohsen Mirdamadi, Mir Hossein Musavi, and the Anjuman-e-Islami and Office for Strengthening Unity student groups. Many institutions support the movement of reformation, such as organizations like Organization of the Mujahideen of the Islamic Revolution and the Majma Rohani-un Mobarez, or the Forum of the Militant Clergy, Office for Fostering Unity and Freedom Movement of Iran. Also, there were many media in supporting of the Reformation like the Iran-e-Fardar and Kian magazines. Khatami's support is said to have cut across regions and class lines, with even some revolutionary guards, seminarians and Basij members voting for him. The core of his electoral support, however, came from the modern middle class, college students, women, and urban workers. For example, by 1995, about half of Iran's 60.5 million people were too young to be alive at the time of the Islamic Revolution. The movement began with the May 23, 1997, surprise victory of Muhammad Khatami, a little-known cleric, to the presidency with almost 70% of the vote. Khatami's win was credited largely to the votes of women and youth who voted for him because he promised to improve the status of women and respond to the demands of the younger generation in Iran. Another reflection of the enthusiasm for reform was that voter turnout was 80%, compared to 50% in the last presidential election, in which there had been no reformist candidate. Khatami is regarded as Iran's first reformist president, since the focus of his campaign was on the rule of law, democracy and the inclusion of all Iranians in the political decision-making process. Very soon after the rise of the Second of Khordad movement, there was an attempted assassination of Syed Asgar, the main strategist of the reformist camp. In March 2000, he was shot in the face on the doorstep of Tehran's city council by a gunman who fled on a motorcycle with an accomplice. The bullet entered through his left cheek and lodged in his neck. He was not killed but was badly paralyzed for some time. During his coma, groups of young Iranians kept a vigil outside Sina Hospital, where he was being treated. Due to this injury, Asgar now uses a walking frame, and his voice is distorted. His convicted assailant Syed Asgar, a young man who was reported to be a member of the Basij militia, served only a small part of his 15-year jail sentence. Red Eminence and Grey Eminences is name of series of newspaper articles and a book written by Akbar. Ganji under the responsibility of Syed Asgar, in which he criticized former President Rafsanjani as the Red Eminence and the intelligence officers in his government, such as Ali Falahia as the Grey Eminences. His subsequent prosecution and conviction for anti-Islamic activities, for his role in the publication of the book and articles cost Akbar Ganji 6 years of imprisonment. Reformist candidates did remarkably well in the 1999 local elections and received 75% of the vote. The 18th of Tir crisis refers to a demonstration in Tehran University dormitory in reaction to close-in